Zero. One. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Reinvention Room. I am so glad you're here. If you've been with me since episode 1, you know this show isn't about pretending change is easy. It's about telling the truth, about what it actually takes to become someone new. And today, we're talking about a part of reinvention that almost nobody prepares you for. Because here's what they don't tell you. When you finally decide, when you finally give yourself permission, when you finally believe it's not too late, when you finally quiet the voice that tried to stop you, and when you finally stop sabotaging the life you say you want, when you finally start taking up your space. They don't tell you that some people are going to be upset about it. And that's what today's episode is called, The Backlash of Becoming. Let's start with something true. Change doesn't happen in a vacuum. You don't reinvent yourself in a sealed room alone, unaffected by anyone else. You do it in the middle of your life, around people who knew you before, people who love the old version of you, people who built relationships, routines, even their own identities around who you used to be. And when you change, something happens that catches almost everyone off guard. Some of those people don't celebrate with you. Some of them pull away. Some of them get cold or critical or strangely competitive. Some of them say, like, you've changed. And it doesn't feel like a compliment. If that's happened to you, I want you to hear this clearly. It doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It means you did something real. Think about it. Imagine a plant that's been living in a small pot for years. Its roots have adjusted to the space. They've curled and folded to the fit of the container. Then one day, someone repots it in something bigger. More soil, more room, more light. The plant doesn't apologize for needing the bigger pot. It just grows into it. But if you ask the old pot how it felt about the move, if pots could feel anything, right? It might feel a little abandoned, a little replaced. Even though the plant didn't do anything to it, the plant just needed room the old container couldn't give. That's what's happening when people react badly to your becoming. You didn't do anything to them. You just outgrew a container, and the people who were a part of that container feel the shift. Let's get honest. Let's get honest about the mechanics of it, because understanding why this happens, it takes a lot of its power. Relationships run on predictability. People learn how to be around you based on who you've been. When you change, you disrupt that pattern, even if the change is good, even if it's something they'd say they want for you in theory. In practice, unpredictability is uncomfortable, and people often respond to discomfort with resistance before they respond with support. This one's harder to say out loud, but it's true. When someone close to you starts making brave changes, like leaving a job that isn't working, setting a boundary, or choosing themselves, it can quietly ask a question the other person wasn't ready to answer. What am I doing with my own life? That's not your responsibility to manage, but it is worth understanding because it explains a lot of reactions that otherwise don't seem to make sense. Some relationships were built on the version of you that needed less. You needed less space. You needed less say. You needed less recognition. And you took up less room. When you stopped being smaller, some relationships simply weren't built to hold the bigger version of you. And that's okay. That's not always a tragedy. Sometimes it's just information. So, what does the backlash usually look like? It rarely shows up as someone yelling, "Stop changing." It doesn't show up loud like that. Not typically. It's quieter than that, and often more confusing. It might sound like some of these phrases. "You used to be so much more relaxed." "Must be nice to just decide to change your whole life." "I liked you better before." Or there's silence where there used to be enthusiasm. And jokes that aren't really jokes. Sudden distance you can't quite explain. All of these are signals of the backlash. None of these are proof that you did something wrong, because you didn't. Most of the time, they're proof that someone else is uncomfortable and they haven't found a better way to say so. So now we know. So what do we do with it? I'm not going to tell you that the backlash doesn't hurt, because it does. Sometimes it hurts a lot. Losing ease with people you care about, even temporarily, is a real loss, and it deserves to be acknowledged and not minimized. But here's what I want you to hold on to: you are not responsible for managing everyone else's comfort with your growth. That sentence is worth writing down. You can be kind, you can be patient, you can leave the door open for people to catch up. But you cannot, listen to me, you cannot shrink yourself back down to keep everyone at ease. That's not a connection, that's a container. And you already know what happens to something that outgrows its container and stays anyway. And let's face it, some backlash is temporary. That's good news, right? Some people just need time. The version of you that showed up is new. So they need time. So give the relationship room to recalibrate before deciding that it's over. Some backlash is a filter, not a failure, because reinvention has a way of sorting your relationships. That's why it's so uncomfortable. And at times, that's why it's so difficult. Not because you're trying to sort them, but because growth reveals who was there for you and who was there for the version of you that took up less space. That's not something to fear. It's something to trust. The part that matters most, I think, is the backlash of becoming is not a sign to go back. It's a sign that becoming is real. If nothing shifted around you, it might mean that nothing actually shifted in you either. The friction is often proof of the change, not evidence against it. You didn't come this far through deciding, through permission, through believing that it wasn't too late, through the voice that tried to stop you, through the sabotage you finally stopped feeding, through claiming your space, just to shrink back down the moment someone else isn't comfortable. Let the plant keep growing. Let the roots stretch. Let the right people come to you, because the right people will meet you in the bigger space. And the ones who don't, that's not the end of your story. That's just the story sorting itself out. And as difficult as it may be, bless them and let them move on if that's what they choose. You're not closing the door, they are. So don't feel guilty for wanting more for your life. As long as you're not intentionally hurting someone else or making somebody else feel bad because they're not at the level that you may be now, then the growth is good. Keep growing. Be uncomfortable. That's where the magic happens. And 10 years from now, when you look back at your life, oof, you got some stories to tell. That's it for today's episode of Reinvention Room. This one hit a little close to home. If some reactions or you felt some kind of way that it stirred you up inside and you had to question yourself, I hope you leave this conversation a little lighter and a little more certain that you're allowed to keep going. Because in the end, this whole show has only ever been about one thing: falling in love with your life. Until next time, I'll see you again in the Reinvention Room. 0, 1. Let's get started.